You know that feeling? You spend like an hour falling down an internet rabbit hole, and as you can't even remember the one thing you were trying to learn in the first place? It's this weird modern paradox, right? We are absolutely swimming in a sea of information, but somehow we're starving for actual wisdom. So today, we're going to explore a way to fix that, a structured way to turn all that overwhelming noise into real, usable knowledge.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to put a name to that feeling of being completely overwhelmed. Then, we'll draw a really important line in the sand between AI tools and our own intelligence. After that, we'll get into the good stuff, an antidote to the chaos. We'll look at how to activate it, and then wrap things up with a huge question. In this age of AI, who really owns the future?
Okay, let's dive right into the core problem. We're living in this paradox of access, and I'm willing to bet you felt the symptoms of this firsthand, even if you couldn't quite put your finger on what to call them.
I mean, just look at this image. It perfectly captures that feeling, doesn't it? You've got Google, you've got ChatGPT, you've got instant answers to literally everything. But what happens? It usually just leads to information overload, and all you're left with is this fragmented sense of knowledge. It's that feeling, you know? Like you're caught in a hurricane of browser tabs, articles, and random data points. So this feeling of overload, it really shows up in three core ways. First up is what's called zero implementation clarity. That's when you've read like a dozen articles on something, but you still have no idea what to do first. Sound familiar? Then there's AI dependency. That's where we just ask a tool for the answer without really engaging our own brains. And finally, there's disconnection. That growing gap between just, processing data and actually feeling like you get it. And here's the reality check, right? Just because you have access doesn't mean you understand. Just because you're using a powerful tool doesn't automatically make you wise. And getting a quick answer, well, that's not the same as transformation. There's a huge gap there that we really need to bridge.
So, how do we start bridging that gap? Well, first, we've got to understand the two big forces at play here. You have the tool, which is artificial intelligence, and then you have the source, that's our own conscious intelligence.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting when you see them side by side. On one side, you've got AI, the tool. It's all about external processing, finding patterns in data, getting those fast answers. But on the other side, that's our conscious intelligence, the source. And that is all about internal transformation, deep clarity, and integrating our intuition. Think of it this way. One's a machine, the other is like a living, growing tree.
All right, so we've kind of diagnosed the problem, right? The chaos, the overload. So what's the solution? What's the antidote? How in the world do we find some order in all of this noise?
Well, this image really says it all. This is the antidote. It's a framework called OM Soul, and the best way to think about it is like a blueprint for a structured ecosystem for your mind. See, it's all about consciously cultivating this garden of clarity and growth, instead of just getting lost in the tangled, chaotic jungle of raw information. This is the big shift from random learning to what you could call curated transformation.
So how does it actually work? Well, the whole framework stands on 4 pillars, and they work in sequence. It all starts with structure, which is designed to quiet all that mental noise. Then, from that calmer space, you get guidance. We're talking curated wisdom, not just random data. Next up is conscious absorption, which is all about making sure you deeply internalize the skills. And finally, and this is arguably the most important part, you get an implementation path, a real roadmap to actually put what you've learned into action.
But why is structure
Powerful.
Why does it work so well? Well, it acts exactly like this bridge. Psychologically, it gives our focus a container. It filters out all the distracting noise, and it replaces that feeling of just aimlessly wandering with a clear path forward. And when that happens, the overwhelm just disappears, and what you're left with is confidence in what to do next.
But here's the thing. This whole structured approach, it's not just about organizing information. It's about something much deeper. It's about activating the full spectrum of our human intelligence, and that takes us way beyond just memorizing facts.
See, the real goal here is to activate our full human potential, and we do that by engaging 4 interconnected intelligences. We go beyond just the cognitive, the logic part. We also tap into our creative ability to innovate, our emotional intelligence for things like empathy and resilience, and even our intuitive sense, that gut feeling, that direct knowing. When you get all 4 of those working together, that's when you get true independent thinking, not just blind dependency on a tool.
So, okay, what does this actually look like in practice? Well, the implementation path is really a journey of asking the right questions. It all starts with curating your source material, asking, what should I learn? Then it grounds you with a sense of purpose by asking, why does this even matter? From there, it builds your situational awareness by asking when is the right time to apply this. And finally, it brings it all home by defining how to execute that knowledge, both practically and ethically.
And ultimately, this is the choice that we all have to make. Are we going to keep chasing these random swirls of content, just hoping something sticks? Or are we going to start consciously building that bridge from knowledge to real purpose? It's really the difference between being a passive consumer and an active creator.
And that brings us to our final and maybe the most important question of all. In this new era of transition, this age powered by AI, who is actually going to lead the way? Who really owns the future? Let's be really clear about this. We are in a massive transition. As artificial intelligence rises, it is absolutely essential that human consciousness rises right along with it, not falls behind. The goal here, the proper hierarchy, is one where these incredible tools assist us, not replace us. It has to be a partnership, not a takeover.
So, back to the question, who owns the future? Well, it's not going to be the person with the fanciest AI tool. The future belongs to those who can cultivate these uniquely human skills. The people who can think clearly. The ones who can structure knowledge effectively. The ones who can integrate their own intuition. And, crucially, implement everything with ethical wisdom.
And that brings us to what might be the single most important takeaway from this whole explainer. Structured learning. It isn't just some kind of educational preference anymore. In a world that is completely saturated with AI, it has become an essential survival skill.
So, if you feel like you're ready to move from that state of chaos to a state of clarity, if you want to start building your own structured ecosystem for your mind, this is where you can begin. That bridge between artificial intelligence and your own conscious learning, it's just waiting for you to build it.